Although varied in design, construction, and uses, kayaks have just two main types: sit inside, typically known as sit-in kayaks, and sit-on-top kayaks. While they both will keep you afloat and provide you with some excellent fishing opportunities, they are very different, both designed to suit particular paddler needs. Sit-in vs sit-on kayak, which is which? The best way to differentiate between these two is to define them separately and look at each one's advantages and disadvantages. Sit-on-top kayak. As the name suggests, a sit-on-top kayak doesn't have an enclosed cockpit, which means that the paddler doesn't sit inside the kayak as they would with a sit-inside kayak. On a sit-on-top kayak, the paddler sits on top of the kayak and way above the water surface. This gives them a commanding view of their surroundings and makes their fishing or recreational kayaking a bit more picturesque. That is one of the main reasons this type of kayak is most popular with both beginners and experienced anglers. The obvious and most popular advantage of a sit-on-top kayak is what we have already mentioned. The paddler is seated on top of the kayak in a commanding position above the water level instead of the inside cockpit just above the water level. This not only gives them a commanding view of the surroundings but also gives them a kind of freedom that a sitting kayak doesn't offer. Many paddlers claim that sitting inside a cockpit feels a little claustrophobic. Sit-on-top kayaks are much easier than sit-in kayaks to re-enter in the all-too-common event of capsizing. Furthermore, the paddler doesn't feel confined within a tight space when paddling or even during a capsize. They aren't quite as fast as sit-in kayaks. This is mostly because of their wide beam, which means that you will need to use a bit more effort to propel these boats forward, making them best for short-distance excursions and kayak fishing. They have a lower degree of secondary stability, the kayak's tendency to remain upright should the paddler lean on either of its edges. This is also thanks to the generally wider beam as well as the generally high center of gravity. Sit-inside kayaks. As the name would suggest, a sit-inside kayak is one that allows the paddler to quite literally sits inside it. The boat has an enclosed cockpit and sits pretty much right at the water level. While they might not be very popular with beginners, sit-inside kayaks are the best types of boats when you want to go touring or for those who are serious about kayak as a form of exercise. Here are some of the advantages and disadvantages of sit-inside kayaks. One of the biggest advantages this type of kayak has over the sit-on-top design is that it has a much lower center of gravity since the paddler is sitting inside the kayak and below the waterline. This means that a sitting kayak has a higher degree of secondary stability, meaning that the paddler can lean over the boat's edge without necessarily capsize it. In turn, the paddler can lean when turning the kayak and have better maneuverability. These kayaks can be designed to be much narrower than their sit-on-top counterparts. This is mostly thanks to their lower center of gravity. As such, they tend to be much faster and more efficient as far as paddling effort is concerned. Make sure you know what kayak length you need before purchasing. The disadvantages of a sit-inside kayak. One of the biggest disadvantages of a sit-inside kayak is the fact that it has an enclosed cockpit. This makes some paddlers feel a little claustrophobic and uncomfortable in case of a capsize. These boats aren't quite as unsinkable as their sit-on-top counterparts. Should their hatch covers come off in rough waters, both the bow and the stern will quickly fill with water, sinking the boat. We are almost wrapping up. These are the common differences between these two. Hope you liked this video. Please comment, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos.